Greetings, Saber fans. I had some issues there. Started another one. I might have to go on and delete that or something. But I had a another stream going, but it got all messed up. So I don't know if anybody will join, but wanted to do another one of these. Wanted to do another one of these live videos. I'm wearing this thing that Britton Woolley probably hates my sweatshirt. Sorry, Britton. Let's see what I wanted to talk about first. Let's talk about some Neopixels. And turn this thing on and get it to 0. I wanted to talk about Neopixels and speakers here for a little bit. There are two different kind of Neopixel strips. This is what's known as the skinny strip, or the 3535 SK6812s, and these are the 5050 strips, or the WS2812B, and these are from BTF Lighting, and these are, I don't know, some place I get from China. But there's the two different types of strips side by side, so you can see the difference in the widths. For most saber blades, I prefer the 3535s because you get less shadowing, and I think bright blades, I think the 3535s are the way to go. So a lot of people don't understand, if we say 35s, 35s, or 50-50s, what the hell we're talking about. Well, the 50-50s are, if I can get you can see there. Well, it's going to be reversed because of the stupid webcam, but they're 5mm by 5mm wide. Hey, Peter Lay, how you doing? And the 3535s are, as you can imagine, 3.5mm wide. So the pixels are actually a smaller diameter on the 3535 strips versus the 50-50 strips. So that's the difference in the two different type of Neopixels, the 50-50s or the 3535s. I actually prefer the 3535s in blades, but I have made blades with 50-50s too. There's a lot of talk about the 50-50s are brighter, but the 50-50s also use a bit more amps, and then as you get toward the end of the blade, you sometimes have diminished brightness in the blade, even if you're using 22 gauge feed wires, where I don't see that fall off and diminish on the end of the blade on 3535 strips. It's totally even all the way down the blade. So I really like the 3535 strips. Hey, Carl, Home Church. That's awesome. Good to see you, Carl. And at any rate, that's Neopixels, basic 101 there. Then I wanted to talk about speakers a little bit. Right now, these speakers are all the rage, the TCS WOW speakers. And this is what I've been installing in most of my Profi Savers. And as the Profi 2.2s come out, I know everybody is kind of like, which speaker do I run? Well, I've had two Sabers that are off in Hong Kong right now with, probably one of my biggest customers. And these TCS WOW speakers have bought the farm. I'm taking my hat off. My head's all shiny. Hey, Max, I don't have makeup on my head, so my head's probably shining in the light. But at any rate, I've had two of these TCS speakers on installed Sabers now. Go wacky. Which is depressing because that particular customer is in Hong Kong. So, I have to figure out how to get speakers replaced. So, I guess what I would suggest in the meantime, and I haven't, there's also some new Sabers out there from, I can't remember, Robert Sotomayor. Robert Sotomayor, I forget his Saber company, but he's actually got some new speakers out there. If one of y'all knows, chime it in, and I'll confirm that in the website. So Max or Peter, if y'all know what Robert's speakers are called, chime in and say Sorok Sabers. There you go, Max. I knew somebody was going to bail me out. But you know, for right now, I would guess the old Beco bass speakers, Smuggler's Outpost. That's right. Thank you, the Bone Church. Or Carl, I'm sorry. Smuggler's Outpost speakers, I haven't tried them yet, but so far I'm hearing everybody raving about them. But kind of now in customer savers, I guess I'm going back to the old trusty Vicos. But you also have some other options out there. You know, the Saber Essentials speakers from Adrian Tan, which I have a bunch of these. They sound great, but some of us were blowing these on Profi because Profi's amp. But I've installed a couple of these Saber Experts. Then you also have the old tried and true Railmaster 28 millimeters, the thin bass speakers. Nigon was really pushing these. They actually sound really good. They don't sound quite as good on Profi as they did on NEC boards and Plector boards. And then I have the small, of course, the small. So this is a 28 millimeter bass speaker, and this is a 20 millimeter bass speaker. This is actually going in my my OB1 hilt. So you can see the difference in size there. 20, I think it is 24 millimeter. I don't remember. It's whatever size goes into LS6. That's what this is. And then you have the 28 millimeter. But at any rate, yeah, we're kind of in a speaker quandary. So if anybody gives, you know, the Smuggler's Outpost speakers try on Profi, certainly give some feedback and let everybody know, because right now that's a bit of a struggle. Next, I wanted to talk really quick about Endlock. So SA2CC's mod, and I have my Transcendence, my Dark Force Custom Sabers, Dark Force Custom Sabers Transcendence, which this is basically my daily beater. And I hope someday to do a video with, I have a 1-inch thick walled, hey, haha, we've got Profi OS Ultra is in the house. But this is my Dark Force Custom Sabers Transcendence, and this is my daily beater. I am going to do a video in the future, maybe next Monday, but I did build a thick-walled Neopixel blade, and I'm going to take this hilt and that blade, and I'm going to go at it with a tree. I don't know. Should I do that live or what? May do that live. But at any rate, and this is my DV6, which this is my Profi 2.2 beta test saber. So, you know, I've been wielding this thing around for a month, and, you know, it's pretty awesome. But I wanted to talk about SA2CC's mods on the operating system. Oh, yeah, I know. The 2.2 is so awesome. I have not put a kill key in this saber since I installed it. The deep sleep on 2.2 is spot on. It's same as Nano Biscotti or Prism. The only time I charge this saber is after I use it and run the battery down. But this, I mean, this thing is awesome. So, you know, the funny thing is Frederick was fighting color changing, or didn't really want to do it, or didn't understand why we all wanted it. Color changing was important. I guess Frederick kind of looked at, if anybody's messing with the open source stuff, they know how to change their own blades. But the problem is a lot of people like me were installing sabers for customers instead of, you know, we were programming for them and setting them up. And if they didn't like our blade color, they couldn't adjust it, and they would have to send it back to us for programming. So color changing was important so that, you know, customers would have a chance to, you know, program their own sabers. But at any rate, at SA2CC, his forks being run on both these sabers. But now, good Lord, I want to talk about Endlock and Bgnlock, and I didn't get there. These sabers, this one, you know, they're a little bit different because they're not exactly the same sabers, but you're going to hear what I'm talking about. And the microphone on my computer actually drowns out the hum. So if y'all saw my last video, the hum was actually drowned out by the noise canceling speaker I have. I'm not exactly, you know, up to speed on everything I need for doing these videos, but I wanted y'all to hear Endlock and Bgnlock. To me, this is the biggest thing except for color changing in the OS that's happened, and there's a huge difference for me. So I'm going to ignite both these sabers. Both of them are Vader fonts. And here is no Bgnlock or Endlock. Here's Bgnlock and Endlock. So it's like the sound right as the saber's beginning to go into lockup with something, and then as you pull it away, almost like, yeah, I know. It was on Coffee OS Ultra, and yes, now it is on SA2CCs. Of course, SA2CCs also has the color changing way, uh, but the bottom line is that Bgnlock and Endlock are on here on the OS, and I think that Bgnlock and Endlock are, to me now, any font that doesn't have Bgnlock or Endlock doesn't even sound right to me. So, K-Sith, if you're listening, ooh, that light's really bright back there, isn't it? I don't know if it's that one or that one. But Bgnlock and Endlock are extremely important. The SA2CC fork is awesome. I totally agree with you that the fork is definitely tops. But at any rate, I guess that's what I wanted to talk about today in this live video was that, and you know, going forward into everybody getting their 2.2s and what's going to happen. Yeah, I know Fernando's blade styles. So, you know, if y'all haven't seen my videos lately, pretty much all the sabers, all the blades that I'm running are Fernando de Rosa's. He is FET 263 on TRA, and of course Fernando de Rosa on open source. And you know, there's been quite a bit of controversy in this Saberland recently, and you know, I really hate that all this is going on and continues to go on. I mean, my thing in this is, you know, most of these guys designing this stuff, including Frederick, you know, including a bunch of other people that are involved in even modifying the is there an OLED animation sources out there? Right now, Frederick is working on OLED animation on the Profi, and it's actually in the experimental stages. If you go in the open source group, yeah, Tatsu Humada is really and yep, that's right. Tatsu Humada is actually publishing a lot of videos about some of the OLED animation he's working on. And Profi 2.2, and I believe the OS 3.0 is going to support that. But what I was going to try and get back to is that, you know, there's a lot of people that have been involved in developing these open source sabers along the way. And I do think that, and I don't want anybody out in TRA land or anywhere else to take this as a slight, because it's not. It's a perception. But, you know, there were two really major soundboard providers, soundboard manufacturers, and they were Plector and NEC. And I've installed both. In fact, I'm installing a Nano Biscotti now. I got a 501st Legion member, and I'm installing this Nano Biscotti, you know, in a 501st Legion members AOTC Anakin. Skinny Flex this is actually an MR that I'm redoing right now. And, you know, it's getting Nano Biscotti in it. Y'all know I've installed Prism. You know, I'm getting ready to install Crystal Focus. I've definitely installed NEC boards. And, you know, I certainly think there's room enough in the hobby, and there's certain niches that need NEC and the Plector boards as well. But what I wanted to say, you know, this goes back historically, is that, you know, I think on one of the initial custom saber forums, there was a bunch of controversy that kind of pushed NEC out the door. And then the TRA started, and there were some developers on Teensy Saber that were pushed out of the TRA and Facebook groups, and then you had all the controversy a couple months ago with ProfOS Ultra, and I don't want to get into the whole thing. And then you have the Dimitri thing going on now, and I don't think any of this is good in any way uh, for the custom saver community. And I'm always a little bit leery. It seems to me like Frederick, along with Dexter, brought Smooth Swing into the open source community. And, Dexter's invention, the smooth swing algorithm, which y'all can go on FX Savers and you can look in the open source section, and the thread where Dexter and Frederick were talking about the smooth swing algorithms, they're right there. In fact, I posted in it this last week just to bump it. So if you go in the open source section on FX Savers, you can actually see the initial conversations, where Dexter invented smooth swing and basically Frederick adapted it. And Frederick put it on the Teensy Sabers, and a bunch of us started. I'll be honest with y'all. When I was on the TRA, I was a big NEC guy. I installed mostly Igniter and Spark products, although I did install some, Plector boards, but it was mostly Igniter NEC products I was installing. And I was looking for a sound font, and Frederick chimed in on the thread that I was posting in, and he said, "Why don't you try Teensy Saber? It can run either." And I was like, "Teensy Saber can run either?" I'm like, "What are you talking about, you crazy old man? Teensy Saber." At that point, you never even really heard of Teensy Saber, and started, reading his forums and learning about it. And then I actually saw some videos from Ethan Zimmer, and where Ethan Zimmer was, running these teensy sabers and doing some crazy, crazy things with the Neopixel blades, which most of that crazy stuff, the blade animations, was implemented by Frederick into Teensy Saber pretty early on. And, Ethan Zimmer got banned from TRA, and he doesn't ever post in the open source section anyway. But Ethan's still out there installing sabers. And look, TRA said they had their reasons for getting rid of Ethan Zimmer. They said they've had a bunch of complaints about his installs or whatever. And I don't know about his installs. I've never torn apart his sabers. I have no idea about any of that. But the fact of the matter is now with Dimitri's ban, on TRA, I really think open source needs its own place. I think open source needs its own place. You can go on TRA and you can look at the post count and the threads, and Professoron's lab is blowing up the TRA. That's probably where a bulk of the TRA members are viewing and posting right now. And I hate to lose any members that are trying to develop this thing. Yeah, midday live, nice. I know it's Veterans Day, and thank you to all the veterans, including Jeff Birch out there, and my dad. My dad's a Vietnam veteran. I know Birchie was a veteran as well, and any of the other viewers out there that are veterans. Thank you very much for your service to the U.S. of A. That allows us to do cool stuff and be free. My dad was actually in Vietnam when this happened, but at any rate, yeah, I serve the community in a different way. Don't want to go into that on YouTube, but most people who know me know what I do for a living. It's been a bad couple of weeks too at work. Oh my God, really bad. But yeah, the thing that concerns me about open source is it was just going so exponential right now, and it's still going exponential on Facebook. Uh, you know, it was a bit tough to follow it all and to keep up with it all. It was progressing so fast. But I hate to move out anybody in the community that's working it. I mean, we all have our quirks and intricacies and personality stabs, and I certainly experienced my share of, you know, of issues with all the above, and I just don't know that just because somebody's personality isn't to your liking, you ban them. I mean, look, I installed one of Stock's Neopixel connectors, and he got all crazy on me and yelled at me about how I'd trimmed the wire on one of the connectors, and the connector worked fine. Um, I don't really know. I don't. It's a cultural thing, maybe. Some of it is cultural. English is his second language, and that's, I'm not excusing anybody. Look, I try not to trash people on the internet. If somebody posts soldering pictures where they've messed up their soldering, uh, I don't go, "You're a sloppy solderer. Look at that." I mean, people have posted that on my videos, and there's one of my videos. I think it's where I installed Profi into a OWK hilt, and I did the full Profi install on video. And I just disabled commenting on that because I just don't want to hear it. At the same time, you want to be critical of my soldering, then have at it. Let's see you publish a video of soldering live on the internet. I mean, I did a live soldering video on Facebook the other night just on Neopixel PCBs, and admittedly it wasn't a perfect soldering job, but the end result is well, it's right here. And it ain't that great, but that was my solder from the live shot the other night, and I have the actual one I'm going to use here somewhere. I don't know where I put it, but oh, by the way, here's the button sets going in my Kylo Ren saber. It's ready to go, all wired up and ready to go, going in the Kylo Ren saber. But yeah, on the Profi OS thing, Frederick obviously doesn't like Facebook, and Facebook's a little bit like ADHD theater with everybody posting, and look at this, and what do I do here, and what do I do there, and it's almost overwhelming. And the forums are a little bit better for that. But I think the open source platform, there needs to be really a space for everyone there. And I think everybody has something to contribute. And I'm sure some people don't like me. I'm sure some people are like, that Meg 2 Sith guy, he's an asshole, or he's a jerk. And, then somebody could say, well, ban him, just because somebody doesn't like me, or doesn't like, but, at the same time, I'm not posting crazy stuff on, I understand their point, but I'm just not quite sure I agree with it. Why I had such issue with what happened on FX Sabers a long time ago, and this is going back into history, was kind of the same thing, but it was, there was companies that were really strong on FX, and who knows, Bone Church, somebody might. I'm sure not everyone likes me. I mean, you can talk to people that I work with and they don't like me. But you go back in the history, FX and TRA, and I almost feel like Scott DeBoer and some of the other groups were kind of treated not so fairly on FX because FX was kind of corporate, and that's no offense. I mean, that's my perception. That's not based in fact. It's my perception, and sometimes reality is perceptions. But FX Sabers, I mean, you might as well, it's just like Saber Forge's website or Ultra Saber's website. And I'm not going to name out the companies that FX backs, but I mean, it's pretty obvious when you go on their website who they back. And anything that wasn't that was a threat, including open source, including Scott from NEC. And that's why all that kind of migrated over to the TRA, and the TRA started. So I understand the TRA has their reasons for doing whatever they did, and I'm not speaking out against what they did. But my word of caution, there is that you have to be careful about people's perceptions. And I think there was, you know, there was a pretty big backlash about everything that happened, not because of who it was or anything. It was because of the history. Um, yeah, well, I appreciate the comments on my teensy vids, and I know I need to get some new ones out there. I know the old ones are outdated. I will work on getting some new ones out there. None of this is a secret. I don't want this stuff to be a secret. And certainly there's not enough of us doing this work to I mean, none of us going to starve if more people get into it and they're installing savers. I mean, I got more work than I can possibly do right now. It's insane the amount of work that's coming in, and pretty much everybody's probably frustrated with me that you know that I can't take their savers on. But I'm not going to let. I don't want anything happening to me like I've seen with these other installers where they just tell everybody yes, 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 just send me your saber, send me your saber, send me your saber. And next thing you know, I have 30 or 40 sabers on backlog, and I'm trying to get one installed, and I can't remember what the customers wanted, and I'm getting so many emails. So I'm really to the point where I'm just like, if I get more than 5 stacked up, then I'm like, yeah, just that's it. Sorry, I can't take any more. And that's why I do the lottery system. But in addition to the lottery system, then I have, like, because y'all know or don't know, I'm a member of the 501st Legion, and this saber, which is gutted right now, but it's not. I'll install this in a couple of hours because this is just an in-hilt saber. Um, but yeah, I don't want to get ahead of myself there. But I guess the big thing that I wanted to say, and then I want to close this out, and I don't want to talk about this anymore, because I'm sure one of the TRA mods will see this video and they'll probably be pissed off at me. But the perception out there from some people is that the TRA is taking a swipe at 2 people. Now, what the TRA did may be totally justified. I have no idea. I'm not a mod. I have been mod on NC Diver's website, which I'll talk about that in a minute. And being a mod's not an easy thing to do. I know banning somebody is not an easy thing to do. It's tough work, but I don't think anybody's really dealt with the perception of what it looks like on the outside, especially for the open source and Profi and Teensy Saber fans out there. That two of the bigger people that have been installing Teensy Saber and Profi and working on this stuff, have been banned from the TRA. I mean, Frederick hasn't, so I'm not some conspiracy theorist. Do I post my blade styles? I do. I actually have shared a lot of my blade styles on the Rebel Armory in the Teensy Saber blade style sharing thread. And actually Fernando de Rosa has several sites where he's got one site dedicated to just normal blade styles, and he's got another site dedicated to color changing blade styles. And he's just an awesome resource in the open source community. So if you haven't researched Fernando de Rosa, please do. If you go into the color changing stuff on TRA, Fernando's got links to all his stuff. But let's say like Fernando or Matt McGreary, Matt McGreary is another big guy in the community, and both of them are on the TRA. And let's say for some reason, the TRA didn't like them or took a dislike to them, and certainly Matt posted some stuff opposed to what the TRA did here this last week, and they banned him. Yeah, he's FET 263, Bone Church, FET 263. But if Matt McGreary said something that made the mods mad and they banned him, then I think our perception then starts becoming reality about all that. But I don't want to talk about that anymore. I just wanted to get my feelings out about that. I do think that there was certainly some merit and some logic. I did see, and Dimitri, if you watch this is no offense to you, but sometimes I do think that no, Matt didn't get banned from the TRA. Matt's currently a moderator. I was saying, what if if he were to get banned, I think that would certainly raise some red flags, because two people that were big in open source are now banned. I think if a third or a fourth got banned, then that would certainly start raising some red flags. No, he didn't get banned. But he certainly was pretty outspoken about disagreeing with their call on TRA and on Facebook. But I really hope that doesn't happen. Fernando and Matt are huge as well in all this. But I'm getting back to what I was saying. If Dimitri watches this, which Dimitri might, this is no offense, Dimitri, at all in any way whatsoever. I think you're a valuable contributor to the lightsaber community. I think your PCBs are awesome. Your Neopixel connectors are awesome. But I do think, you need to use more caution on how critical you get of people, including me. But I mean, I can take constructive criticism. If somebody goes, "This sucks," and this is why. I think if you would just say, "Hey, I think you could have done a better job in yeah." I think when you're criticizing somebody, if you can say, "Hey, I think you could have done a little bit better here, and let me show you what a good example looks like," and then show them. And I think I've seen a little bit more of that lately than I had in the past. In the past, it was just being real super critical, and super critical wasn't working. But I want to talk about something positive. I want to get away from all this crap and talk about something positive. Meg teeth. So where this Meg tooth Sith thing? Where did that come from? These. So I go scuba diving for Meg teeth here off of Wilmington, North Carolina. So if anybody doesn't know where Wilmington, North Carolina is, we're about 45 miles north of Myrtle Beach, and we're a coastal community. And I've been scuba diving since I was 14 years old because I wanted to be an astronaut, and that never worked out. So I get to be an aquanaut. I go scuba diving underwater. But Wilmington, North Carolina is now the #1 place in the world to find these. And, it's pretty cool. So, and I don't buy them. I actually find them. And I have another YouTube channel that y'all may not know about, and there is actually some lightsaber stuff. And this is going to be backwards, I think, because the thing is backwards. But it's F as in Frank, P as in Papa, S as in Sierra, N as in November, D as in Delta, I as in India, V as in Victor, E as in Echo, R as in Romeo, FPSN diver. I will type it in the chat here. Let's see here. I can't tell if it's backwards, Jeff. I'm an idiot. But also, if you search Vimeo for FPSN diver, y'all wondering why I do so much filming on GoPro. Sweet, it wasn't backwards. Awesome. Thanks, Perchy. I thought it was backwards. But I wanted to make sure that a lot of people are like, "What the hell is this Meg 2 Sith?" And my true passion is scuba diving, and I got way too many hobbies. Did y'all know I play and teach bagpipes too? So, like, here's a bass drum head for our pipe band, and a set of bagpipes up on the wall. So yeah, I'm doing way too much stuff. Way too much. But yeah, I appreciate it. I like putting the Meg teeth in there too. Yeah, I know it's a lot of hobbies, and currently, what is it? It's 5:16 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'm supposed to be on the other side of town at my girlfriend's house. How do I deal with a shrilly sound? It's hard for some. I don't know. I'm supposed to be. Oh, Yeah, for the bagpipes. A lot of people that have heard bagpipes haven't heard them in tune. Out of tune bagpipes is huge bad. But yeah, if you've ever heard a piper that's playing out of tune pipes, they don't sound good. I actually tune my pipes. It bothers the crap out of me for them to be out of tune. And I think most people that have heard bagpipes that are like, ugh, that's horrible. The drones weren't in tune with the chanter was probably the problem. But yeah, and on top of that, then I'm a full-time public servant too. So that's why I can't install a gazillion lightsabers for people. But what I was getting ready to say is it's 5:17, and I'm supposed to be at my girlfriend's house on the other side of town. Take me about 30 minutes to drive over there to watch a movie tonight. We're gonna watch uh, a movie that she wants to watch. So I'm trying to, maintain this new relationship, which is very serious. We've been dating now for a year. Um, I got divorced and met her. Well, I actually meet her after my divorce. I actually met her. Um, Go see Doctor Sleep. Yeah, no kidding. Actually, I actually met my wife or my girlfriend that I'm dating now when I first started working where I work, and I met her actually before I. No, she'll take you away from us. No, no, she won't. She actually. So to me, and I haven't really ever talked about this, but why do I like saber building on top of the fact that I'm a Star Wars nerd? I mean,